took a photo of the street. The AI literally builds, if you want, a bike lane on the street. And then people immediately felt like, oh, wait a second, but from this image produced by the AI, it shows that the bike lane is going to basically destroy or cover the cobblestone,
the sidewalk that already exists.
That's like, from, I don't know if it's 19th century or but anyway, it's really
beautiful. Because you asked for that, the AI do it, and this is the example.
Exactly, and then they felt,
there's limited space.
Exactly, and then they felt immediately, okay, no, we don't want the bike lane anymore. Let's try to find a new solution, because even as a site, exactly.
Welcome to the Urbanista, where we discuss the water management challenges of Nordic cities. From safe drinking water distribution and stormwater collection to building sustainable urban living environments. Here is your host, Delphine Vesalo.
No, hey, welcome back, Urbanistas. It's so nice to be back on your ears. Unless you have been living under a rock, sure you have heard about AI or generative AI during the last year or so. AI has been taking the world by storm. But here at the Urbanista, we wanted to take a closer look about how AI may or may not impact your job as urban planner, as landscape architect, as a person who is taking care of the future of our cities. And for that, today we have the fortune of having an expert on that, on both things, urban planning and AI. So who are you and what do you do?
Hi, I'm Damiano Cerrone from UrbanistAI, one of the co-founders of this platform. And the platform is about using generative AI to co-design the future of cities.
Using generative AI to co-design. Actually, that may be the key word. Let's deep dive into that in a moment. So it's a tool that is available, or a platform, maybe we can explain that is available for urban planners, wherever they are, in a design firm or inside a city hall. Is that correct? Is that something they can use directly?
Yeah, that's right. So I would say it's not just a platform in the sense of a technological platform, but it's also a method, because participatory AI is something new. And the overall idea is that instead of having a design process that involves different stakeholders in different part of that process, you have them all together to have that kind of discussion. And the AI is like facilitating the co-design phase, usually of a project, a renewal project, urban design project, or even a new street, like in the Helsinki case. I can talk about that later on. But yeah, so this is what it is more or less. And the cities, ministries as well, architecture offices, they are the main users.
All right, let's focus on one thing specifically. I was mentioning at the introduction that all this AI buzz has been started like from 1 year ago or something, when it was more popularized by OpenAI and by all these APIs that started to pop up everywhere. And now there's a multitude of tools that do whatever you want. The AI prepares your soup and everything pretty much. But I understand that you were in this game way before, years before. Is that true? I mean, year before this frenzy started.
Yeah, that is true. So basically, I've been co-founding also a company called Spin Unit over 12 years ago. And what we've been doing with that, we have been basically helping cities and again ministries to do research. And at the same time, I was in contact with Luca Stornaiolo and Lisa Gazeva, that they are the co-founders of Toretei. That's an AI company. And already in 2018, they were basically in Toretei, they were training their own, let's say, generative AI models without APIs. So we met at the Venice Biennale, where Luca was basically exhibiting some of his work. And that's where the idea came from. So we were working with cities, and cities wanted to have new tools to design cities with citizens and many stakeholders. Luca and Lisa, they were basically training generative AI models from scratch. There were no APIs. There were no, there was no GPT open yet, nothing. And basically already 5 years ago, this thing has started. So 2018. Is it 5 years now? Yes.
20, yes, more, a bit more.
Yes, a bit more, yeah.
So you were way ahead of this wave or this buzz. So, well, I guess you have learned lots of things on the way. Does AI make more efficient, more precise, I don't know how to say better, does it make it more efficient, the whole urban planning process?
So what AI does, at least in our case, it helps people to imagine the future, which is the most important thing when you're talking about cities, because one of the biggest hurdles is that if you would ask somebody what works or what doesn't work in your city, it's very easy to answer because you have a lot of lived experiences. You know what it doesn't work and what it doesn't for you. But if you ask somebody, how would you like, for example, this square in front of us to be like in the future? That's a very difficult question because the possibilities are almost infinite. And that's what the AI does. The AI helps participants to the design process to very quickly imagine, so they can ideate what the future could be like, and they can also evaluate. So if you have an idea like, would be great to try here a small urban pocket park, but you have no idea how would it look like. That's something usually would take months for architecture offices to do, or weeks. But now you can have that in the same conversation. Like we can just speak to each other and like you might say, hey, I would like you to see a park. Let's see how it look like. And let's decide then right away if we build it or not.
Because you talk about participants, like
Yes.
plural. Of
Yes.
course, there are many type of stakeholders involved, from the citizens themselves, the people
That's right,
living
yes.
there, the city hall, the specific urban planner assigned or working on the project. So I remember that there has been this conversation between the planners and the people that can participate, can have or express their wishes. But sometimes those conversations are a bit complicated because everybody has their say, their wish, they need. And as you said, if we have a square here in front of us, well, I want a park with a playground for kids. No, I want a fountain. No, but I want 10 trees from here to the end of the... Not everything. We cannot please everybody, or maybe it's not even possible given the situation of the whole situation of the square. We cannot do whatever we want. There are certain things that we need to. So it's a quite complicated conversation that the urban planners need to have with the people.
It is the most difficult conversation, and that is the whole issue, is that we often don't have that conversation. So because it's very difficult for planners, even within a planning office, it's very difficult for them to have that kind of conversation. So quite often people work in black boxes. Somebody's taking care of one design aspect, somebody's taking care of the participatory planning, somebody's taking care of different elements, and then they try to bring them together. And that's what brings conflict quite often. So this conflict in conversation comes basically when people with different views don't have the same vocabulary to talk about what they kind of their ideas. So that's what sort of what the AI does, is that using the universal language of images, you can actually have a vocabulary that everybody can use. So they can basically talk about their ideas and speak to each other. I would say that is the main thing with AI. When we started, actually, we utilized artists. So as a proof of concept, before starting to actually build the whole software, we tried to have conversations between citizens, planners, and even it was youth. So it was kids in the city of Narva. And in that case, we were trying to make the youth master plan. And we tested the idea by using drawings. So basically, kids would tell us what they would like to see in the city. Somebody would actually make a drawing of that, like a sketch, and then we would see their reaction. So the most important thing, actually, I would say, we can get back even to this later, but I think the most important thing that AI allows us to do, it allows us to change our mind. Because quite often you might want something, but then once you see that something being realized, you might not like it anymore.
That's not exactly what I want, or that's not. And
Exactly.
this is the process that you explain, is that what has been always done. I mean, kind of, I don't want to call it old-fashioned, but that's a traditional way. Yeah, let's have an idea, let's collect insights from the people, and somebody sketch literally, and then go back and show.
Yeah.
No, this is not. I'm back to the drawing room, and then another round.
It takes months.
And it takes months
or years.
Yeah, because
years.
that's another thing. Changing cities or transforming cities is slow.
It is slow.
It's a slow process that, I mean, many people involved, money involved many times, unfortunately, yes. But I am sensing that the use of generative AI, and in particular, what you are working on, UrbanistAI, would speed up this process.
Yes, and the reason why we want to speed up the process is because we have to, actually. So there is, I think, about 25, 27 different EU directives that is that are basically informing us how should we regenerate our cities in order to be resilient, both in terms of climate resilience, but also economic resilience. So that's where the rush comes from. It's not that we want to speed up the design process and construction process of cities because we want to grow them more. Actually, we want to retrofit them according to, again, international frameworks, EU frameworks. So there is more than, there's plenty of these documents that you can go through, from the urban agenda, nature-based solutions, the new European Bauhaus. So like you have a huge amount of list of both directives and sort of guidelines that come from the EU, because we are in a rush. Actually, we are in a rush to retrofit our cities. So we cannot wait too much to do that. So that is the reason why there is this kind of rush. We need to be able to basically include also multi-species in the planning process. So not just multi-stakeholders, but also understand how different species live in cities.
Will AI or generative AI and the platform that you are working on would make this faster, meaning instead of years, plural, year, or maybe months from inception, planning, and reality?
Yes, that would help. We have some examples where this is already happening. I would say it's not, the AI that makes the process faster is the fact that we are using collective intelligence of our cities to reimagine them. So the point actually here is to change the process. That's why we started immediately to work with ministry offices and municipal offices, because this is a shift in the co-design process of CDC. So the whole idea is that if you are able to collect multiple intelligences when you actually are in the design phase, it is most likely that, first of all, you have innovation. So that's the most important thing. When people with different ideas come up with a third idea, that's what innovation usually is. So we have different ideas and we come up with something new. That's sort of, you need that in cities, you need innovation. And secondly, what the AI basically does, it only makes that conversation easier and faster. So you can do this process without AI if you want to. It's just going to be so much slower. So the key is collective intelligence, of which AI is part of it. That's what makes it fast. So otherwise, you could, in theory, of course, use more collective intelligence to co-design cities anyway. So it's more that generative AI makes it much faster for that group of people to brainstorm about their ideas, to test these ideas, and then eventually evaluate them, take a decision.
Make a decision, and whatever is the final outcome, this is what we want for this square or for this park. So can start much faster.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
can go and start building it.
Yes.
Whoever has to happen,
yes.
Building it much faster.
Yes, and also you increase a bit the quality of the work that you do, because what we're seeing is that the engineers and architects who are then actually have to, like the executive drawings, they have to actually, they have to be compliant to the regulations of cities. They can actually focus so much more of their time on the quality of their own process, rather than exactly producing many different scenarios and trying to please everyone in different stages. So usually, you might have an idea, architectural design offices make different scenarios, those scenarios are evaluated maybe 2 months after, and this goes on back and forth. The process here would be, I can describe the process we've done for the Helsinki summer streets. Basically, there was a workshop was it January? Yes. We had the Helsinki Citizens Committee, which is a representative group of citizens. And the idea would be exactly that within the 2 hours workshop, the participants, so it's citizens plus designers plus city representatives, they would actually be in groups, in 3 groups. They have ideated, so they've come up with what do we want here. They have evaluated their ideas, means that the AI then puts their ideas on the actual photographs, so they can then evaluate, okay, I want a bike lane, how does it look like? Then you can take a decision, yes, we still want a bike lane, or we want something else. And then eventually within the same meeting that lasts just 2 hours, they can decide all together, so not just citizens plus designers plus city representatives, they can talk to each other and decide, yes, these are our 5 kind of priorities, or our 5 visions. They're actually visions, like they are actually images
that the people can see, feel, if they are comfortable with.
Exactly. And this gives them agency also, because once you produce an image, it's much more difficult to change plans. Because if you try to change plans afterwards, you say, hey, but 2 months ago, this is what we have produced. Which is also why some cities are still kind of try to understand the process, because they feel that, okay, but if we have images, then we need to actually build what people wanted. Well, you were part of the process.
Well, then we have to, because you committed to build
Exactly. And you were part of the process as well, of course. So then this was a bit, of course, easy process, because these are summer streets. So there was no actual, there was no actual construction of new buildings. So it was basically making 2 streets pedestrians.
Some temporary urban mobiliary,
yeah,
maybe.
For the summer. But it worked pretty well. And I think Sveco was in charge of the process, and then WSP was in charge for the actual construction. And basically what it happened is that WSP went home with like 5 images, like printed images of, these are the 5 things that people would like to see here. And I think that was a nice process. And the feedback was afterwards that basically when they took the citizens and the participants back to see the constructed area, that basically they said that, like, yeah, this is a bit different, of course, but we see our ideas in it. So the most important thing for people, the reason why they stay and invest in a city, is because they see a future in it. So I live in Helsinki because I see a future prospect from here, either if it's business wise or city wise. But this is why people stay or choose to be in the city. They see a future. So the fact that they can build this future together then makes people want to be there even more. So I think this is the core idea why you want to co-design the future with citizens as well.
That you really participated in the design of the place that you want, really, and you are happy living, because you were, even the citizens were the placemakers.
Yes, exactly.
I made my own, I made my own place.
Yes.
So, and it's made for me based on my input, on my needs, and coming back to this speed, because actually I remember in the past season, we had a lady, Päivi Raivio, her company does sustainable urban mobiliary, which can be produced pretty fast. And it's actually for summer purposes, that they put benches or they with a lot of greenery and a lot of course, stormwater absorption. Yeah. So it is the whole mini ecosystem. And she was telling me that you can build it super fast.
Yeah.
Okay. It's only for the summer or the time when in the Nordics there's no snow, of course. But that was quite impressive how she can deliver all those things, and it's reality overnight. They can do it pretty much.
Absolutely. Actually, it's quite interesting because indeed, like the construction can be as fast as you are technologically able to, but it's the conversation usually that slows that process. Okay, what should we build? How should it look like? That's exactly what we're working with, and we're now starting to work with Päivi actually. So with Parkley.
Oh, really? Yes. Parkley, yes, there you go. With Parkley.
Yeah.
Okay, see.
Exactly, because they really know how to build those solutions. But again, the process of deciding what to build, where to place it, is the one that slows things down for months. So we now basically are building this thing called Party Place, which is bringing together participatory design with placemaking, so that the conversation can be fast and then the construction can be fast. So basically, we are trying to put together the best of this speeding up the conversation and making a joyful conversation, so that we can also go to the construction much, much faster. So this is the new thing we're working on with them, actually.
Right. Yes. See, well, this is this is a small world, but yeah. Hey, within the criteria that you can, and now we can go into the specifics of your platform, but within the criteria that you should take into account to have an outcome, to have a concrete image. Okay, we have the input from the residents, we have the planning or the planners, we have whatever authority from the city. What about, and we can put all those things in your platform. What about the regulations? Somehow, can you put them there? I want to put 3 trees here. Or no, because the regulations say that you cannot put 3, you should put only 1, or I don't know. It's just, can the legal framework, the regulation can be put somehow or considered in some capacity by the tool?
Absolutely. So this is one of the things we're working mostly with at maybe ministry level, just because of question of budget. But basically, the thing that we're doing is exactly to train the generative AI model based on either if it's policies, guidelines, design guidelines, or even design regulations. So this is actually where I think AI has also the can give the most contribution. Because as I said, the participatory AI process usually is 3 stages. Is ideation, so the AI helps you to just come up with ideas.
Mhm.
The second is to evaluate these ideas. And the third one is to decide. So this evaluation process is one of the most important one. And this is where the training of AI evaluator is what you're mentioning basically as the most power, because somebody might produce an image, but they might only judge it in the quickness of a conversation.
Mhm.
You might only judging that image for its aesthetical properties. But aesthetics is not everything in cities.
The
Actually,
function.
that's also actually one of the issues. Aesthetics is only, unfortunately nowadays, it's been taken a bit too much on the side. But yeah, so the aesthetics is one element, but then regulations and even technological possibilities is another. So the AI evaluators, they help you do that. So you produce an image, and then the evaluator is basically telling you, well, according to the regulations or according to this, we should change a bit this design in one way or another. We already have that system, actually. And then for specific cities and partners, we can train it according to their...
And there are specific criteria or
Yes.
specific local regulation.
Exactly.
You just mentioned maybe we are taking a bit apart the aesthetic aspect. So are we building cities that are very functional, but not so nice, not so beautiful, or what?
Well, yeah. Again, this is my just opinion as a planner, not anymore as much as and also living in Helsinki, I see that the city has been changing quite a lot. And indeed, I think cities are becoming very, very functional, also because the number of standards that you need to follow, they're becoming actually greater every year. Of course, it's for the sake of safety. Of course, it's for the sake of even
sustainability,
climate mitigation solution. However, the issue is that taking those manual and following them by the rule, they're creating very kind of unsatisfactory, I would say, urban design, unfortunately.
Unpleasant.
Yes. I mean, even if they were done for the good, of course. Like I cycle to work every day.
Yeah, nobody has bad intentions, of course, but
exactly. But exactly when you start to build 6 meters wide or 4 meters wide bike lane, and you start to cut trees to do that, that's maybe not cool anymore. Let's say. So we understand that. I'm a cyclist myself, and that's one thing I've been seeing in the past 5 years in Helsinki is that a lot of space was taken away from nature to increase the safety, if you want, of cyclists. I'm one of them. So
fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
But I'm also happy to cycle in a bit narrower bike lane and see more trees. So I would say that there is a kind of a trade-off that maybe these regulations are maybe not. They are maybe taking care of it, but maybe not in that way from a human-centric perspective. So it's about safety, but we are missing a bit of this kind of pleasant urban design.
Urban design. Yes. Okay. Can you explain exactly how UrbanistAI works? And if you have an example of any project that you could share, how exactly works? The people come, please.
Yeah. So, the first step always, of course, is to work with a city or a ministry to bring in the process, to change the process. Because if you use UrbanistAI, so if you're trying to imagine the future of cities, when the future has already been decided, you're selling a lie. So basically, we need to be able to engage in a very early stage. What we actually do usually, it's either a online campaign, which means that participants can simply use their mobile phones, take a photo of an urban place, of a city, even interior, doesn't need to be only outside. They can take a photo, they can select the area they want to transform with their fingers, and then let the AI help them out to come up with ideas, like make it pedestrian.
Log into a platform, submit it there.
Okay. You actually, as a user, you don't even log in. So if you're just like a citizen, so I make an example from Zurich. So we had a platform running for half a year in Zurich. Literally anyone who would just have a QR code, they could scan the QR code. If they want to log in, they can log in so that their answers are then kind of, in that sense, personalized. But they log in the platform, then they can just go around the city anywhere, take a photograph, and express their ideas. Why this is so important is that the current situation with participatory planning is that you ask a question to somebody: how would you like the city to be, or what works, what doesn't work? But for example, if you ask somebody, how would you like this street to be, and they say, I would like to see a bike lane here. Great, but they're not able to understand how the street would actually look like with a bike lane. And what is the issue with that is that we've seen, for example, in Helsinki, that a lot of people came to the workshop and they wanted to add bike lanes it was Kasarmitori, one of the main central streets.
Yes.
So everybody wanted this, not everybody, but the majority wanted bike lane. Took a photo of the street. The AI literally builds, if you want, a bike lane on the street. And then people immediately felt like, oh, wait a second, but from this image produced by the AI, it shows that the bike lane is going to basically destroy or cover the cobblestone,
the sidewalk that already exists.
That's like, from, I don't know if it's 19th century or like, but anyway, it's really
beautiful. Because you asked for that, the AI do it, and this is the example.
Exactly. And then they felt,
because there's limited space.
Exactly. And then they felt immediately, okay, no, we don't want the bike lane anymore. Let's try to find a new solution. Because even as a cyclist, like you want a bike lane, but then when you understand the impact of the bike lane, you might want to change the mind and improve it in a different way. And that's actually what it happened maybe on this planet, is that the bike lane was actually built because everybody wanted the bike lane, but I'm not sure if people were able, with AI or not, indeed, to see, okay, if we put the bike lane here, we are going to lose the beautiful cobblestone. And indeed, kind of people were upset because of that afterwards. So I would say this is one of the main power of things, is that you take a photo with your mobile phone, you put your idea there, but then you can evaluate your own idea. So you still have time to change your mind, which is something with surveys you cannot do. So like if you just ask questions, people, they give you an answer. That answer, quite often, it's without the awareness of the impact of the answer. And also you have no chance to change your mind. And changing your mind is the most important thing in people.
Or just making you aware, okay, this is what you want, this is what you wish. Look, you have immediate feedback, or the platform can provide you immediate feedback.
Exactly.
In the case of this bike lane that was taking over the cobblestone. Yeah. Hey, well, I changed my opinion then.
Yes.
But this more dynamic process, like feed an authentic dialogue.
Yeah,
really.
It is about dialogue. It's a collective process. That's the beautiful thing, is that one person said in the group, hey guys, we are losing the cobblestone. And then other people thought, oh, well, you're right. And then you start to have this conversation within humans, which is something that AI is trying to remove from the process, but we're trying to actually use AI to increase that conversation between humans. And I think that is the beautiful thing, is that in a group of 50 people, one raises the hand and say, hey, we're losing the cobblestone. That's where the magic happens. And that's what we're trying to achieve with UrbanistAI. That once people see the future, they're able to actually understand it and also change their mind if they want to.
And what happens if, okay, we have more people, the more the merrier, yes, but how the platform, the AI will deal with a certain volume of requests or wishes, and that may be contradictory, some of them. Some of them went up, some of them went down. How is that? How the AI thinks to put these things together, because we cannot please everybody.
Exactly, that's a really good point. I mean, that's exactly why we say that, yes, you can participate online. So you can take your phone, test your ideas, send them to the city. But the most important thing, so this process is only valid if you have human beings then coming in person, face to face, talking to each other. I know that this doesn't sound fancy anymore, because actually technology and all this idea of digitalization is exactly to, in some sense, automatize processes as much as possible. But when you're talking about the future of cities, the most important thing is to discuss about the future. So to increase dialogue. And also most of these technologies that we have today, they've been designed in a way even to have less in-person interactions. But in-person interaction is the only project, actually is the biggest project we can build, which is trust. So this is one of the most important things. What happens when you have an online campaign, you collect, 3,000, 10,000, 50,000 ideas. As you said, many are contradictory. How do we make innovation out of it? We get people talk about those contradictions in person. So this is exactly kind of the method that we're trying to basically think upon, is that digitalization is great, AI is great, let's collect even 1 million ideas, but let's take the decision in person. Let's bring back human beings in the space where they can have a dialogue and let them innovate their own ideas. So this is the part of the process that, of course, is time consuming, but it's still like we're talking about 2 hours workshop. So I think,
again, time, speeding up the timing. Yes. So once we have 10, 15, 1,000 ideas submitted, the platform does all the work, presents then the conclusion in 3, 4, 5, depending, of course, how extensive is the project or the place that we are trying to renew, presents 4 or 5 options, viable options, considering everybody's wishes and possibilities.
Yeah, let's say it shows the most common or even the most diverging options as well. So basically, in a way, like you get 5,000 ideas, and then you try to understand which were the ideas around which people had agreement, around which they had disagreement, and also which were the sort of the kind of the black sheeps, because there is always some ideas that maybe only one person had.
Yeah, the outliers
Yes,
that
the outliers they can be very, very powerful actually in this process. Outliers are very, very important actually. Yeah.
Okay, so but those are also considered that at some point is not.
Yes, absolutely.
The AI may not be like, it's not a democracy. The idea who got more votes, that's the one that goes, and the one that was an outlier, maybe only 2, but it's truly innovative, and that may be the answer.
Yes.
So the AI is not kind of biased by the volume, the democracy.
Yeah, it helps actually to find even them. So this is what we call positive deviants. So positive deviants, exactly, they are those small elements in data that are possibly, let's say, exactly, they deviate from the average, but they can actually be extremely powerful because they can bring a positive impact on the decision-making process. So in the case of Helsinki, the positive deviant was the one person saying, hey, actually, if we build the bike lane here, we're going to destroy the stone. And then it made everybody's mind change. So that's also with democracy. It's not only having 50 people agreeing on the same thing, it's only one person helping everybody else to think a bit one level deeper about their decisions and choices.
There you go. And that's what your tool is, empowering all those people to communicate, to collaborate, and then having these 4 or 5, whatever proposals in the end that everybody or most people can agree or should
disagree, and then
then you can take it from there and iterate the process.
Exactly, and you can improve the idea. So that's usually what happens. Like this works with citizens. It also works within design offices. So like an architecture office uses this internally, or with their clients. They can basically have a meeting and say, okay, here we have a space. What should we do here? And so different ideas can be shared, and that design solution can be live edited if you want. So it's like instead of doing back and forth between clients and customers or cities and citizens, you actually can have that discussion there live. So there's different methods. As I said, like one method, you collect a lot of ideas online and then you discuss you take final decision in person, or you do it only in person as well. So that's also possible. So there's many, many ways of deploying the technology actually.
It's been said in general about AI that it's going to take over our jobs. It's going to substitute the people doing the actual tasks overall for many repetitive actions or tasks. That is like the general buzz, the general fear, maybe. I'm sure you have discussed a lot when presenting this tool to your fellow urban planners. What is the feeling from the planner themselves? Is that, hey, this is really going to take over my job? Am I going to be needed in the future? Or is just input some prompts and boom, it will, and the community will, and the urban planner will be cited? Yes. What's the feeling about the people you have been sharing this platform with?
Well, I would say that a lot of planners sees this as a way to, they would like this to be a way for them to sort of have a faster process. So they don't see it yet so much as it's going to take my job. They see it more in a way like, if the planning process is faster, so be it. Some people are, of course, concerned, mostly designers. However, AI is going to take our jobs only if we design a process for it. So what I mean by that is that we're now designing a process in which AI is part of a co-design workshop. So we are designing both the platform and the process so that actually AI is augmenting that conversation. But of course, if you want, you can redesign the process for AI to basically replace the planners. So you just collect ideas. These ideas are turned into prompts. Those prompts are turned into drawings. Then you might connect it to another AI that creates a BIM model out of that drawing. It is possible, sure. The question is more like, is this a process we want? So at the end, I think that AI can, and most likely it will, replace a huge amount of jobs if that's what we as society would want it to do. So that's why I think quite many people don't want that. And that's why we're trying to build a process for the people who don't. So we're trying to build a process for people who like people. So like this is sort of...
Or conversely, it's a tool, AI, that will enable or empower more the urban planners to do more, to do it faster, to do it better.
Yes.
And that's, in the previous example that you put, that's how I'm seeing it. Yes, the human planner is still there involved because has to put all the pieces together, has to write, if you want, the right prompts to get to the desired. But it's not like suddenly the urban planners disappear. It's just, well, times change, technology changes.
Yeah.
We all in every profession need to evolve and see how can we adopt these technologies.
Yes, that's what's very interesting also is that the prompting is something that it's already disappearing. So you have basically large language models that can do the job for you. So you can just freely speak with each other. We can have a conversation like this we're having now. And at the same time, just like you have an AI transcript, you can have an AI generator of drawings. So we can talk about what we would like to see in cities and let the AI generate that. But you see, this is already a process that we have designed this process to say, okay, we have two persons talking to each other and an AI makes drawing of that conversation. Mm-hmm. But you can also decide that just let the AI have that conversation. So you can have different AI agents. You can basically train an AI agent who is an expert planner. You can collect all the surveys ever done in a city to train an AI agent that represents citizens. Mm-hmm. And you can actually, you increase that stakeholders pool. So you increase the number of AI agents in the room and let them have that conversation and let them design the city for you. But the question is more, do we want that process to be it? Technologically, it's possible. So I think the only reason why this thing does not exist yet, it's not because it's not possible. It's just because people have decided not to implement that process. So I think this is the biggest question. Like right now, I think everybody's talking about indeed like is taking our jobs or not. But the main conversation is what kind of processes we want to do for urban design, mm-hmm. even for medical inquiries, for anything, even to drive the bus or the train. So it's that is the kind of conversation we should be having now. Actually, what kind of processes we want to have in society in the future? How do we want to include AI? Do we want it to augment our ideas? Do we want it to evaluate our ideas, or do we want it to replace our jobs?
And all this, one of the key benefits of your platform and the AI is that it takes into account many opinions, puts them all together. Yeah. We need to work in a different process, yes, but that process is faster, is more efficient, if we can say so. And we can deliver, or urban planners can deliver more products, more projects, more efficiently that really fulfill the needs. So this whole process looks, theoretically looks nice, even if the city hall is on board. Yeah. What comes to the regulations, the policymakers, I mean, it is normally, commonly understood that technology is going way faster than the legislation, than the policymakers, which they take their time to do. So are they really lagging behind so much, or how are they catching up, the policymakers? Are they understanding all this power of AI?
They really are, actually. So we had quite many projects with policymakers. So one of the most interesting one is with the United Nations Development Program. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing, actually, we are introducing UrbanistAI to about 250 municipalities from Eastern Europe. It's called the Mayors for Economic Growth. Mm-hmm. It's the project. And what we're actually doing, we are helping the mayors and the mayor's offices to understand how to utilize AI to co-design policies, but also to understand policies. Because what is possible to do is that, let's say, if you're a mayor of a city and you get a EU framework or a EU directive, you need to take the document, interpret it, and try to understand what does it mean for my city, what does it mean for my policy direction. You can have an AI help you to do that. So you have a very complex document. The AI can help you, make you understand what that policy would look like.
Apply it to your city.
Exactly, apply it to your city. And then that mayors then can use this kind of information to shape their own policies. And then again, use the AI to communicate their policies to citizens. So I'll make you an example. I'm a mayor of a city in Georgia. This is kind of real, actually. Mm-hmm. I have some ideas. I want to transmit these ideas to citizens so that they can understand my policy. Instead of exactly sharing a PDF, a large document, and so on, I just say, go out there, take a photo, and the AI is going to transform your street or your square according to the policy that I want to promote. So basically, this is where we see the power of AI and the way we use it actually is in communication. So we have not built an AI design platform. We have built an AI communication platform because that's where we think the most power is. So this has been done exactly with the mayors, but we've been doing this in many other cities. So we had about 65 different initiative projects in the past year in 25 different countries. So we've also learned how policymakers in different countries use it. An example of this, it's in Estonia as well. It's actually running right now. So there is an exhibition at the National Museum of Natural History that allows basically participants or kids, whoever comes to the museum, to understand the EU policies on nature-based solutions. So the way it works is that they go into this museum area, they can choose a photograph from the city of Tallinn, and then they can apply a policy. Or what if we increase the biodiversity of this street? What if we apply a nature-based solution of this square? What if we build a bios whale here? So it's a way for them to really understand what this policy means without even knowing that there is a policy, if you want. Right? So this is kind of one of the best ways to communicate ideas and to let people understand what is the direction that we're trying to take.
Actually, then I would say rather than the AI being the driver in all the cases that you have mentioned, the AI or your platform is the facilitator of the communication of the conversation. Yes. We steer the conversation or the needs as we want, based on the needs of the people, based on policy 1, 2, or 3, based on the actual situation of the specific place, the geography, and the AI just analyze and gives you all the options, and fast. Yes, so I guess that's and if the urban planning is there at the center, together with the city hall, I guess that's the real power. Of course, you as a urban planner, you still need to be there steering the AI tool, communicating with the different stakeholders. So guiding, if you want, the AI to the point where you want it to be, and just do it faster.
It's a new skill.
It's a new skill.
It's
a new way of working.
Yes.
That's what you were mentioning at the beginning. It's not that they will come to substitute you.
No.
You need to adapt to a new way of doing things.
Exactly.
A new way of planning, just with the help of AI.
That's right.
And and now that you mention, also including the policy or the specific circumstances or characteristics of specific cities. Bigger, smaller, cities in the Nordics are quite different than cities in the Mediterranean or in Eastern Europe. Is it so that you can build a model for every city that can be participated, and whatever you throw in the future, the AI knows how the things are done in Bratislava as opposed as in Rome, as opposed as in Oslo.
Yes.
And they will not provide the same answer, of course, to the same problem.
That's right. And even more, you can actually use synthetic materials to train a model to do things that, let's say, like in Helsinki, things have been done in a certain way for hundreds of years. So basically, the point is this: if you would train, which is something we do exactly. So we train an AI model. Make an example from Dubai. Let's go with concrete example. So we've been working with the Prime Minister office there exactly to create the generative AI model for Dubai, which is called UrbanistAI. And in that case, what happens is that you can train the model, let's say, in two different ways. You can train the model based on the existing materials, so photographs, text, document of one city. And what's going to happen is that whenever you use that generative model, it's going to produce a new city, if you want, or a new street or a new park that it's business as usual. It's going to do something that looks like Dubai. Let's say if you do Dubai, if you do Helsinki, it's going to look like Helsinki, the way it's always going to look like in the past. So, but then what planners want sometimes, they want to say, okay, but I want to produce something that doesn't look like Dubai. That's the whole point sometimes of planning, is that you want to design something that doesn't look like Helsinki, the way it always looked like. So then you start to produce synthetic training sets. And what does it mean? It means that planners, they might have some ideas, politicians might have some ideas. So, and they give ideas of the futures, and their ideas of the future, they become synthetic images that are used to train the model. So let's say I imagine that in the future buildings will have green facades, or they will have this, and that. You write down these descriptions. The generative model produces images, and those images are going to be utilized as a training set. So basically, the AI is going to learn from virtual futures. So then, basically, when you use UrbanistAI, what you can do is that you can say, I want the model to be conservative, or I want it to be creative or futuristic or whatever it is. So this kind of synthetic training, using synthetic to train the model it's the most interesting part, actually.
That would be like a very nice scenario that, looking forward to have those, to see those things being real. So to give a final message, what would you say to your fellow urban planners about AI? Be afraid, be open. What would you tell them regarding AI?
I would say that, well, at least from my perspective, now we have an occasion to actually talk to each other and to use the collective intelligence of cities. So we can finally combine experts' knowledge with the knowledge of the everyday life. So we are able to bring together the technical with the experiential dimension of cities. So this is, I would say, what we're looking at with AI. So it's not about changing your job. It's about starting to communicate with a bigger number of people. It's expanding your platform, let's say. Expanding
your horizons and
Yes.
your knowledge as urban planner.
Yes.
Damiano, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you
This
for
has
having me.
been very insightful conversation, and we hope that also for you, Urbanista, this has been thought-provoking. Yes, keep thinking and keep going around the idea of working and maybe changing, adapting a bit your processes using AI. Thank you so much, and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Urbanista podcast, a production of Uponor Infra, the leader in sustainable infrastructure solutions. If you found it interesting, why don't you share it with your colleagues? We all together can move our industry forward.